The Indiana Fever dropped ticket prices to $5. $5. You can't get a coffee in most places these days for $5, but you can watch one of the best players in basketball history live. And fans still didn't fill the building. That's not apathy. That's a message. Caitlin Clark dropped 5 three-pointers in the fourth quarter alone on May 15th. Forced overtime with a buzzer-beating 3, and the seats were still empty. When fans stop showing up, even at rock-bottom prices, something is badly broken inside that organization, and it starts with the coach and the front office. What do you think of Stephanie White and the Indiana Fever front office? Let me know down in the comments below. Even with ticket prices being somewhat close to the price of a gallon of gas, the Indiana Feline still failed to sell out their game last night against the Washington Mythicals. Gainbridge Fieldhouse holds just over 17,000 people. And on May 15th, nearly 2,000 of those seats sat empty. The Fever didn't just let that happen quietly. They dropped resale tickets to $5, threw in free hot dogs, cut the price on t-shirts from $40 down to $24, and fans still didn't show up. That's not a slow news day or a scheduling conflict. That's the market telling you something is wrong. With star power like that, it is absolutely perplexing why the Fever couldn't sell tickets last night. Take a look at this. These were the available seats about 90 minutes before the game started. As you can see, thousands of seats were still available. Once the game started, nearly 2,000 seats remained unsold. To understand how bad that number actually is, you need to remember what 2024 looked like. When Clark got drafted, Gainbridge turned into one of the hardest tickets in women's basketball. The Fever sold out, or near sold out, basically every home game that season. And the few times they fell short, it was by a couple hundred tickets, not 2,000. Fans drove in from hours away. Resale prices on the secondary market ran way above face value. The energy in that building was different from anything the WNBA had seen in years, and it held through to 2025, even when Clark was out injured. So, when the Fever slashed prices to $5 a few days ago and still couldn't fill the place, that's the contrast you need to sit with. Clark didn't have a quiet night against Washington. She dropped 5 three-pointers in the fourth quarter and then hit a buzzer beater to force overtime, and the building still had 2,000 empty seats. That's not a Clark problem. Fans aren't done with Clark. The TV numbers and the streaming numbers and the clip engagement on social media all say the same thing. People are watching Caitlin Clark more than ever. They're just watching from their couches instead of from section 114. People are showing their frustration with their wallets. Caitlin Clark. Crazy motion. 110,000 views on the Washington Mystics Indiana Fever highlight on their YouTube on the WNBA YouTube channel. When you put it next to everything else, yikes. Nobody. The rest of the league is like damn near anonymous compared to Kane Clark. Especially with Kane Clark having a great day like that. That gap between viewership and attendance is what the Fever front office should actually be losing sleep over, because it tells you exactly what's happening. Fans aren't tuning out. They're tuning in, but they're refusing to spend money on a product they've lost faith in. And that's a completely different problem than a team that nobody cares about. When a team drops to $5 a ticket, they're not running a promotion. They're admitting that organic demand has collapsed. And for a franchise built around one of the most marketable athletes in women's sports history, that collapse lands directly at the feet of the front office and the coaching staff. The anger in the fan base didn't show up out of nowhere on May 15th. It built through the off-season, through free agency, through the moment fans started looking at the roster and realizing that Amber Cox hadn't actually fixed the things that needed fixing. Stephanie White, you got to get it together, man. You got to get it together. I've said this numerous times. If this team came out slow out the gate, it's going to be bad news bears. And they are slow out the gate, and you're seeing the reactions from fans. It is bad news bears. You can scroll past a critical tweet. You can ignore the comment section. What you cannot ignore is a third of your building sitting empty when you've priced tickets lower than a fast food combo meal. And the specific reasons why fans stopped coming started taking shape long before tip-off against Washington. Washington scored 58 points in the paint against the Fever on May 15th, compared to Indiana's 28. That's a 30-point differential inside. And if you want to understand how that number happened, you need to know what the Fever's front court looked like with 2 minutes and 1 second left in the third quarter, which is when Aaliyah Boston grabbed her lower leg and walked to the bench and didn't come back. Monique, they had 58 points in the paint, started overtime, Washington scoring down there over and over again. What did you feel like were the struggles you guys had protecting the cup tonight? Just executing our coverages at times. Our communication wasn't always there, and again they just made really tough shots. Sometimes their bodies there, and they just made really tough shots. Great players in the post. Boston is the one player on this roster who makes the interior defense function. She rotates. She contests. She's the reason teams can't just set up shop in the paint against Indiana all night. Without her, the Fever don't have a real plan B. And that's not because of anything that happened during the game. That's because Amber Cox didn't build one in the offs. She felt like they were over-dribbling. They need to be a little bit more mindful of where their shooters are and also defensively. Steph has been saying it all game. McMahon drives by Clark and hangs and finishes. 3 accounts here today. Austin now 5 of 6 from the line as Katrin pulls down the offensive rebound. Going right back to work. Kiki Irifan finished with 25 points and 13 rebounds. Shakira Austin scored 19. Sonia Citron dropped 30 on her own. One analyst watching the game put it simply. Irifan was just too big for whoever the Fever put in front of her. Finn on Billings. Ari spins, fires, and the bank shot goes down themselves. Players just kind of collide off of them. I'm not sure if that's what happened there or not. Ariafin strokes a 3. Drives on Citron clock up and under. Blocked by Iron. After Boston went down, those options were Monique Billings and Maisha Hines-Allen. And against a Washington front court running post-action after. Post-action, that matchup was over before it started. Washington's coaching staff didn't need to draw up anything clever. They watched film, saw that Indiana had no reliable rim protector behind Boston, and ran the same plays over and over because nothing in the Fever's roster was going to stop them. Cox had a full off-season to address this. Free agents were available who could protect the rim and hold up against physical bigs. Overseas players were worth scouting. What the Fever actually spent money on was Kelsey Mitchell's contract extension, and the front court depth going into 2026 looked almost identical to the front court depth that already worried people in 2025. Boston's presence papered over that problem when she was healthy, so it didn't blow up immediately, but it was always sitting there waiting. Caitlin Clark is a game share. The question is, why are the felines struggling to sell tickets at home? And look, I don't want to over-dramatize it. There were still 15,000 people in the arena last night. Less than 2,000 tickets were unsold. But there is definitely something different this season with the Caitlin Clark fanbase.